Welcome back to Old Hollywood Briar. That tin is signed by one of the greatest actors of all time. He was once offered the role of Han Solo in Star Wars, but turned it down. You'll find out who it is at the end. We're going to have a tin opening here, and blend comparison, but I also wanted to take a moment to put something down to record. I found an article that would have been lost had someone not posted it on a forum, and I'm going to read a few pieces of it here. It was written by John C. Loring. So grab your best briar, a good supply of leaf and flame, and sit back as we dive into a bit of history. When Alfred Dunhill opened his shop on Duke Street in 1907, it was a tobacco shop. He was a tobacconist, or as he put it in his first catalog, a mixture specialist, predominantly displaying a sign in his shop window reading tobacco specialist. When he opened the doors that first day, it was not the type of shop where you or I would buy pipe tobacco, a shop with a wide variety made by a number of manufacturers. Rather, the Alfred Dunhill shop was opened like that of a bespoke blender of tobacco, with each My Mixture custom blended for an individual customer. In Dunhill's own words, the senses of taste and smell are distinct senses to each separate person. It is impossible for a ready-made mixture to exactly suit the individual senses of taste and smell. Consequently, the only method available is the scientific method where the tone of the sense of the taste and the quality of the sense of the smell is accurately determined and assured. No method avails save that of individual test by personal interview. A particular mixture cannot be expected to suit the tastes of all and sundry, any more than one medical prescription can be efficacious in all diseases. I, Alfred Dunhill, therefore make it my business here to prescribe, if I may be allowed to use such a term with reference to the T-word, a special mixture to suit each individual customer. In my first attempt does not quite attain the ideal, I alter the proportions of the mixture until absolute success is achieved. One customer described seeing the process, taking a bunch of weed from one cell, a mere pinch from another, and so on. Then a few rapid movements of the hands, and the different tobaccos were uniformly blended and the mixture was wrapped up. In my case, I must say that Mr. Dunhill hit the thing right the first time. The prescription was duly registered in a book, and I was given its number. By the end of the century, over 36,700 individual blends had been recorded in the Duke Street shop My Mixture book. In 1910, Dunhill released their first catalog with 10 My Mixture blends for general consumer approval. Though according to Balfour, if you actually visited the shop, you can get number 75, a mixture of all the blending leavings, technically an 11th blend. Custom blending of the sort Alfred described in his catalog had another problem as well. It does not necessarily produce the best possible blend. Blending is more than just mixing together different leaf and proportion. There are blending techniques like stoving, toasting, pressing that take time and experimentation and can hardly be done at the store's blending counter. Then too, one blend is mixed, it needs times to marry in both the bulk and the tin. Above all else, Alfred strove for the best, thus it was only natural that a few years later, in 1912, bespoke blending took a back seat again, as Alfred Dunhill introduced his first pre-packaged name blends, Royal Yacht, Cuba, and Durbar. Following the Second World War, several blends were dropped, but 3 important new blends were introduced in 1951, Orientals, Aperitif, and Early Morning Pipe, and Nightcap, a Latakia blend. Back in the 1960s, there were major adverse developments in the supply of Oriental tobaccos. Equally important were changes at Dunhill itself. Traditional English tobacco blending is a costly business, limited during most of the 20th century by English blending laws from freely using flavor additives in blending. Dunhill and either other English blenders, in contrast to those of continental Europe and America, had to rely much more heavily on the natural flavor characteristics of Virginia and Oriental leaf, as opposed to naturally blander, less costly, additive-enhanced burley and similar leaf. Moreover, those Virginia and Oriental flavor characteristics had to be developed naturally through aging and pressing. But money tied up in aging inventory has an interest cost, and blending techniques such as pressing, toasting, and stoving not only take time, they also require additional equipment and increased labor expense. Dunhill used all of these blending techniques and aged its tobacco as raw leaf, then in marrying blends in bulk, and lastly in marrying and settling blends in the tin before shipment. Tobacco blended and aged in this manner gives a distinct matured, spoiled, or, not to mince words, a rotten aroma when the tin is first opened. Undoubtedly, during this period, Dunhill was wrestling with managing traditional blending methods in the context of remaining a for-profit enterprise, and one could not help but suspect that blends such as 3-year matured lost out in the upshot. At the same time, Dunhill was in the process of evolving from simply being a provider of smoking requisites to being a retail-oriented corporate conglomerate, one of whose members was Murray's of Northern Ireland, itself a major blender of pipe tobacco. The 1981 consolidation of most all tobacco blending into Murray's was an obvious rationalization. Specifically, the transfer to Murray's included all name blends, including My Mixture 965. However, while Dunhill and Murray's were both blenders, there were significant differences. Being in Northern Ireland, Murray's was subject to less restrictive blending laws than Dunhill. More importantly, Murray's tended towards mass production blending using fewer varieties of leaf to produce blends of less complexity and with significantly less aging at all stages. One immediate consequence was that the Murray's Dunhill name blends did not stink when open, most likely reflecting a sharp curtailment of the traditional Dunhill aging process. I suspect another consequence was that some of the named Dunhill blends were discontinued because they were too complex to be produced efficiently. The net effect of any case was that not only the blends were discontinued, but equally there were discontinued distinct changes in continuing blends, in some cases undoubtedly due to recipe changes. An example, the substitution of Cyprian Latakia for Syrian. In other cases, due to changes in blending technique, and in all cases due to significantly less aging. In all fairness, problems in leaf supply and economic realities would probably have led to some of the same results even had Dunhill name blends not have been transferred to Murray's. I suspect, for instance, that by 1981 transfer, Dunhill had very little aged leaf left on hand. One exception to the 1981 blending transfer should be noted. The Dunhill Duke Street shop continued to offer custom blending for the next 2 decades, and as part of that continuation, a small batch blender in London, I suspect with Dunhill associations, continued to produce a number of My Mixture blends, available only for the Duke Street shop. Alright, let's pop this thing open here. You know, as you open these tins, I mean, even though, it's not still the Dunhill long-aged process, you still get that smell of old boot, burnt tire, and when you're opening an English blend, you really do smell a difference. And, even though this one's been produced, by the Scandinavian Tobacco Group for a long time, hopefully some of those, blending techniques did stay with the company. You could see a little bit of crystallization there on that leaf. Not sure if that's p.i.p.e or Latakia leaf that's got it. But as we twist this around here, you could just see some really great oily leaf, and that just looks really beautiful. That Turkish ribbon is going to be the light colored leaf there. As we pick through, the p.i.p.e is really dark, twisty, and short. But one of the things about the Dunhill blends that we like so much is that the ribbon cut is just slightly thinner than most blends are cut, which makes it just a little bit easier to smoke and just a little bit easier to keep lit. So I'm going to put the Sutliff match here. That's going to go on the left. We were all suspicious that the Dunhill blends might be coming back when Sutliff was forced to change their name from Match Nightcap to Match Evening. I'm going to be comparing it to this Dunhill Bulk Nightcap here that I got from Manny at Tobacco Trader LA. He's going to take a little sniff here. Here.
I think the Nightcap has a little bit more toast to it, a little more oomph to it.
Alright, let's get this spread out here and take a look. Just going to be using the bulk here because I can spread out more tobacco and it just looks nicer and fills up the picture here. If you look on the left, that's the Sutliff match. If you look on the right, that's the Dunhill Nightcap. You can see right away the Dunhill ribbon cut being thinner. Those Turkish ribbons, the light colored ribbons, are all just thinner. The p.i.p.e looks a little thinner. The Latakia Even those Virginias kind of just look a little bit thinner. Dare to say that the Dunhill blend is a little bit oilier as well. Just has that richer, oilier sense, whereas the Sutliff just seems kind of a little bit more springy, and that could just be because it's more of a fuller cut, but not really sure about that. But looking in there, I mean, that Nightcap just looks really nice. The Sutliff just looks a little bit different. And as Manny was saying too, the Nightcap's just got a little bit more toast to it. It's just got a little darker. That's just beautiful. You just watch it sit there, and the oil just kind of soaks up the flame and just rises a little bit. And the first light of a pipe is just really a beautiful and almost, I want to say like spiritual type of experience, because it just really calms you down. You're there playing with fire, basically. Ayn Rand used to write about how, smoking, having that little bit of fire at the end of your pipe or cigarette was a way of mastering what to mankind was a very dangerous thing. And that to any intellectual doing so just kind of naturally felt, that gave you that extra prowess. So now we're going to light up the Sutliff match. Nightcap, we're looking at Latakia Oriental Turkish Perique Virginia here. This is a rich blend. It's called a Balkan blend by some because of the addition of the Oriental and the Turkish ribbon. Plum pudding fitting in that distinction as well. These don't really taste like Balkan blends once you actually taste Balkan blends like, Balkan Supreme, Balkan Sassini, dare say Penzance, Balkan Sobrani, I would imagine as well, which I haven't tried because it's too damn expensive. But, as I go from pipe to pipe here, the blend is so close. The aromas are so close. Nightcap is a little toastier. It is a little darker. It has that British back end that the Sutliff blend really almost has. It's so, I'm gonna smoke. Look at this. I'm smoking two pipes at the same time here. Hitting that Sutliff a little bit on the right side of the tongue, the Nightcap on the left side of the tongue, and you really do need to smoke them both at the same time to experience them. They are that close. So I'm really glad to say that the Sutliff did an amazing job in trying to match Nightcap, but they just missed it by a hair. And that's really probably because there's some leftover British blending techniques that SDG is using that really showcase the flavor of the leaf and allow it to get that moisture and age. This is my Dunhill box that I've got where I've been aging my stuff because much like the article said, age really matters. Tin age matters. Leaves change over time. The oils meld together. And you saw what that tin looked like when we opened it. The oils, the crystallization, you just can't fake that. So let's find out whose signature is on this tin.
Oh, that reminds me. This actor was hardly at work, and he's just depressed. And he goes up to his agent because his agent calls him and says, "Listen, I got something for you." And the actor says, "Really? You got something for me? Is it speaking?" He says, "Yeah. It's just one line." He says, "Yeah?" He says, "It's a play." He says, "Yeah?" He says, "And it's going on tonight." He said, "Yeah?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "What's the lines?" He says, "You have to say, 'Is that a bomb I hear?'" So the guy gets on the train to go to Dunhill, and he gets to the thing, and immediately he says, "Where the hell were you?" He says, "I just on the train. I had to get back." He says, "No, come on, let's go." And they're putting stuff on it, and he's putting the outfit on, and he's saying, "Is that a bomb here? Is that a bomb here? Is that a bomb?" He said, and they scream, they hear something, and he's in the theater itself, and the audience is there, and he's backstage, and he's going, and it's something, he's got a uniform on, and they say, "Go!" So he runs out, and he hears this huge explosion. He says, What the fuck was that?
Why'd you turn it down?
I didn't understand it. In essence, I gave Harrison Ford his career. I read it. I mean, this was a long time ago, before it was, because that was so innovative. It was groundbreaking, that film. So, but I still didn't understand what was going on. So I gave it to my dear, beloved friend and mentor, Charlie Lawton, who's passed on. But at the time, I said, "Hey, Charlie, you mind reading this thing? It really offered me a lot of money, and I don't know, so I can't get it. I don't get it." So he read it, because he read everything. Subsequently, I ever did. He read it. He read that. He called me back. He said, "Oh, Al, I don't get it."
Here's a few pictures that night from my Instagram that the Aero Theater saves me a seat down up front, and I go down and take some shots. Pacino said something really interesting one time. He said, "I was not prepared for fame. It hit me hard, and I didn't have the capacity to cope." You can see he kind of dresses very casually, takes casual to the next level. He's a really nice and caring guy. When he signed that tin for me, we were alone backstage just before he went out. Just he and I took this photo right here. But as you can see, when he goes out, he's just mobbed by people. I had to actually rescue him from this crowd when he was on his way in. I had to basically pry people open to let him out. Fame's a heavy burden. The crown's a heavy thing to wear. Well, thank you for watching Old Hollywood Briar. Thank you for taking this tour back through history, through the blends of Dunhill and the times of Al Pacino, and having a good time with us. Please make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button so you get notified when we drop a new video. And give us a thumbs up if you like this one. Stay smoky, my friends.